Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do a deep dive into Star on the Bar. This is an essential move for aerial hoop because it's a transition into a lot of things. Also, it's a really pretty rest move, so it is very, very useful for choreography, and having a comfortable star on the bar is so important. But first, I'll just ask you guys to please do take a moment to subscribe to my channel because it will keep you up to date with all of the new tutorials that I'm posting on here all the time, as well as really helping me out with the YouTube algorithm and helping new people find the channel. So please take just a moment to subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, then a big thumbs up like on this video is also extremely helpful. Okay, let's get to it. So the number one most important thing for your star on the bar is placement. You want to place the hoop right at your tailbone or just below it. If the hoop is too low, you are going to slide out to the front, and if it's too high, your legs are going to want to come down in the back. So correct placement near your tailbone is vital. The next most important thing is having a good transition into the position that will set you up nicely. I'm going to show you my two favorite ones. The first one I like to call a fan kick transition or a rond de jambe transition because you're doing a big circle with your leg, or in French, rond de jambe. You're going to start with sitting in the hoop and turning your hips as far to the side as possible, one hand on each side of the hoop, not too high, and then take your bottom leg, lifting up that hip slightly as you do a great big circle with a nice straight leg all the way around the front of the hoop. As you are doing this big circle, you're lifting up your hip slightly so you can scoot it forward. You're also leaning your shoulders backwards and keeping those hands nice and firmly gripped on the side of the hoop. Once you've gone as far as you can go with that first leg, scoot your hands down slightly, and then do the exact same thing with your second leg. In other words, do a big circle, lift up your hip, and scoot your hip forward. Those two hip scoots while you're circling your legs are what's going to bring you onto your tailbone area. And once you've done the second leg, you should be in a good and comfortable star on the bar position. You're ready to slowly take your hands off, and you should feel nice and secure and locked in. To come out of it, I'm just going to place my hands back onto the hoop from the back, so that means my palms are facing forward. Then I can swing both legs towards the back and walk my hands up. I'm lifting up with my arms to scoot my hips back into the center of the hoop, back into a seated position. Here's my other favorite transition into it. Sitting in the hoop with your hips facing front and your shoulders also facing front, place each hand on opposite sides of the hoop at about head height and start walking your legs forward. Each time you do a little walk with your legs, you're scooting your hips forward tiny bits at a time, but it's happening. After a little while, you should be far enough forward with your hips that you can scoot your hands down slightly, lean back with your shoulders, reach up with one leg, and wrap that foot around the base of the span set. From here, you can do the same thing with the other leg, and drop your head and shoulders down even farther. At this point, you should be able to pull with your arms and use your feet to help you to scoot the hoop back onto that secret spot that is just around your tailbone. Once you are there and you feel nice and comfortable, you can drop your hands down even slightly farther and open up your legs. Your legs should be nice and straight, and you should think about pushing them against the sides of the hoop as they go down. That should put you in a nice and comfortable star on the bar position that's nice and locked in. From there, I'm using the same exit to come back into the hoop. Now that we've talked about how to do things properly, let's talk about some ways that it can go wrong. The number one mistake I see my students make with star on the bar is to not scoot their hips forward enough. As you can see here, as I do my big circle with my leg, I'm not scooting my hips forward, I'm leaving them behind the hoop. And once I start to go into full position, they are really far out of the front of the hoop. They're kind of just pivoting back exactly where they were without moving forward at all. That means I'm not going to be able to let go with my hands because my hips are too far out of the hoop. I'm going to have all my weight on one side, and I'm not going to be able to keep that position no matter how strong my legs are trying to hold me in. Basically, once you're in this position, it's kind of all over. The next biggest problem that I see people have is to have the hoop too high on their back. Here you can see my hoop is almost touching my shoulder blades, and as soon as I start to open my legs, the weight of them is pulling me out the front of the hoop. It's really hard to hold and I have to give up and go into cradle. Another problem that I see people have very often is to let your knees face forward. That means that when I'm going into the position here, I'm kind of letting my knees relax and face the front of the hoop, and it's putting me in a position where it's really difficult to access the strength in my legs and I want to slide down. Instead, what you want to do is, as you go into the position, think about making your knees point down towards the ground. You can see that my kneecaps, although they're not pointing directly down, are almost on a diagonal, pointing more towards the ground. That's going to be a much more comfortable position. It's going to help me use my legs to keep me in the hoop, and it's just going to feel a lot more secure and stable. And I just want to point out that Star on the Bar is actually a move that you don't need a lot of flexibility for. Here I'm in quite a big split because I'm very used to being in this position, but even if you don't have the flexibility, if your legs are just in a V near the top of the hoop, as long as you have that good placement near your tailbone, you're going to be able to do a beautiful version of this. Flat splits are not required for this move at all. With that, I hope this has helped your Star on the Bar, or you at least have some tips and ideas to work on. I'll just remind you one more time to subscribe, and with that, I will see you guys next time.